All right, guys, I am back with another chapter in First Chronicles. We are in First Chronicles chapter 19, where the header reads, David defeats the Ammonites. Now, you'll notice I'm in a very unique setting. I have a busy night tonight. I have my brother-in-law coming over to help me finalize some stuff and fixing up a portion of my parents' house that we're trying to sell. So in, transition, I found myself another work phone and a personal phone. I didn't bring my Bible with me, but I can still knock out my Bible study. So thank God for technology. But we're going to move forward. Again, we're in chapter 19 of First Chronicles, again, where the header reads, David defeats the Ammonites, and we're going to get right into it. Sometime after this, King Nahash of the Ammonites died, and his son Hanun became king. David said, I'm going to show loyalty to Hanun because his father Nahash was always loyal to me. So David sent messengers to express sympathy to Hanun about his father's death. But when David's ambassadors arrived in the land of Ammon, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanun, Do you really think these men are coming here to honor your father? No, David has sent them to spy out the land so they can come in and conquer it. So Hanun seized David's ambassadors and shaved them, cut off their robes at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. When David heard what had happened to the men, he sent messengers to tell them, Stay at Jericho until your beards grow out, and then come back. For they felt deep shame because of their appearance. Then the people of Ammon realized how seriously they had angered David. Hanun and the Ammonites sent 75,000 pounds of silver to hire chariots and charioteers from Aram Naharaim, Aram Makkah, and Zobah. They also hired 32,000 chariots and secured the support of the king of Makkah and his army. These forces camped at Medeba, where they were joined by the Ammonite troops that Hanun had recruited from his own towns. When David heard about this, he sent Joab and all his warriors to fight them. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city, while the other kings positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Joab saw what he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of Israelites' elite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Arameans in the fields. He left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. If the Arameans are too strong for me, then come over and help me, Joab told his brother. And if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will help you. Be courageous, let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of God, and the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done. When Joab and his troops attacked, the Arameans began to run away. And when the Ammonites saw the Arameans running, they also ran from Abishai and retreated into the city. Then Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans now realized that they were no match for Israel. So they sent messengers and summoned additional Aramean troops from the other side of the Euphrates River. These troops were under the command of Shobak, the commander of Hadadezer's forces. When David heard what was happening, he mobilized all Israel, crossed the Jordan River, and positioned his troops in battle formation. Then David engaged the Arameans in battle, and they fought against him. But again the Arameans fled from the Israelites. This time David's forces killed 7,000 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers, including Shobak, the commander of their army. When Hadadezer's allies saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to David and became his subjects. After that, the Arameans were no longer willing to help the Ammonites. And with that, that is the end of chapter 19. And so I guess the reflection I want to make on this is sometimes even when we do what we know to be right and we're set on a mission by God, and even if it doesn't feel like it's spoken, but you just simply are doing your best to operate under what his expectations would be. And David wanting to honor a fallen king and trying to pay homage to that family. The fact that his extension of grace was basically spit on and thrown right back in his face. It's so interesting because I think when that happens, I know for me personally, my pride gets hurt. And I know that pride goes before the fall, but you can still be prideful in your worship to God, and you have to be careful of that. Say, no, I align with this guy. How dare you treat me like that? And it's weird because there's like a balance that you need to have to make sure that your pride doesn't get the best of you. I think so many times my desire to fall in line with God, when someone is, cruel to me, and it just angers me more because I don't understand. I'm trying to love you, and I'm trying to support you, or your kids or your family or your friends or your community, whatever that may be. And when someone just casts that away, especially if I had to like dig deep for that, like, oh, they were already being rough, or they were already enemies, or I'm like, no, what would God want me to do? He'd want me to operate like this. He'd want me to speak to them in kindness. And he'd still want me to love. He'd love thy neighbor as thyself. And, I want that kindness. And so I want to be able to extend that. And when you do that and your hand gets slapped away, or you get made fun of, or you're thought of as weak, so much frustration I have, that just gets wrapped up into me. And I really resonate with David. I like how he responds. He responds with a violence that I'm not so sure that God appreciates, but there is such a thing as just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a righteous fury. Kind of like Jesus, they say Jesus was perfect, and the only way to get into heaven is perfection. Well, he had fits of rage, but they were righteous fury. When he was tipping the tables over, at the temple, and saying, what have you done to my father's house? David does that, but it's just, I don't know if I have the balance to execute that properly. I can get the fury part. I struggle to ensure that it's righteous fury, because I feel like so many times when I feel something get a hold of me, my pride is wrapped up into that. And so I don't want that to take the lead when I know God should be taking the lead. So sometimes because it's something that I'm working on, even in a fight, I would tend to knee-jerk want to sit on my hands as to not respond too violently, which is my knee-jerk reaction. And I don't always mean like in a physical sense of wanting to hurt people physically and things like that, but in an abrupt manner, cutting somebody off, being too assertive in conversation. And I pray for God to kind of give me discernment with that, because it's something that as I lead and love people, I want to make sure that I can be that firm hand that needs to address things as they need to be addressed, but also be loving and supportive to allow that opportunity for whoever I'm having that conversation, whether it's me needing to learn or them needing to learn, and me to give that opportunity for that to come to fruition, be willing to be an active component of that. And so many times do we see the men of God, that being something that, they're bringing more violence than discernment, I guess I should say. And not that is always wrong, because obviously David slayed Goliath. There's plenty of nations that fell that was God's intent. No, they had crossed the line. They have gotten to a certain point. But in how you deal with them, even in handing out a defeat, I think that there's still honor in doing it in such a just and loving manner, that doing anything short of that, I think even though God delivers the victory, you don't glorify him if you are not making sure that you win in a righteous manner as well. People always talk about, having good discernment when you lose, and making sure that you're learning, but there's definitely a need in the desire to win graciously as well, especially if you're a Christian, knowing that victory is the expectation. Make sure you act like it, right? Make sure you're humble. Make sure you're loving people, and make sure that if it's an opportunity that you can teach and learn and all of that, that your actions don't just simply create more enemies. You're recruiting for the promised land. That's the expectation. So on that, I'm trying to, there we go. That is the end of First Chronicles chapter 19. And so have a good night. I'm going to end there. All right. So I hope what I just, transcribed of my own feelings and heartfelt as far as how David responds to some of those things, some of those discourteous actions from other leaders in other nations. But on that note, have a great night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll be back tomorrow for 1 Chronicles chapter 20, where the header reads, David captures Rabbah. And so have a good night. God bless, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.